Hey Raquel, I wanted to go over your exam with you. Let me know if you have any questions as we go along through it. So the first one, you're going to have 3/8 m equals negative 24. In order to clear this fraction, I need to multiply it by 8/3, because 8 times 3 is 24, 3 times 8 is 24. So that'll just give me m. But if I multiplied this side by 8/3, I need to also multiply this side by 8/3. And when I multiply 24 times 8/3, I'm going to do 24 times 8 divided by 3 is going to give me negative 64. The next one is very similar. It's 2/3 m equals negative 96. So it's the same type of problem, but here you're going to multiply by 3/2. You always multiply by the reciprocal. So 96 times 3 is going to be 228, and if I divide that by 2, I'll get negative 144. All right, this next one is a little trickier. Okay, so whenever I have a number outside of the parentheses like this, but let's look and see that this is a fraction. Fractions can be really hard to work with. So what you can do is you can multiply the whole thing by the denominator. So since my denominator here is 7, I'm going to multiply this whole side by 7. If I do this, since it's multiplied together, I'll have a negative 3 m minus 9. Isn't that a whole lot easier? Now, if I multiply this by 7, I need to multiply that by 7 as well, which means I need to distribute this through. So 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 6 is 42m. I also need to distribute this negative 3 through, so I'm going to get negative 3m. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 9 is 27 equals 21 plus 42m. Now I just need to move all the m's to one side and everything else to the other. I'm going to move this m over here because I like my numbers to be positive. So that'll give me 27 equals 21 plus 42 plus 3 is 45m. And I'm going to subtract 21. (27 minus 21 is 6 equals 45m. Going to divide by 45. Divide by 45. So my m equals 6 over 45. I can just change it around since it's an equal sign. Both of those numbers are divisible by 3, so if I divide 6 by 3, I'll get 2. 45 divided by 3 is 15, so my answer should be 2 over 15. Clearing the fraction isn't required. You could just distribute this through. but it's a lot easier to do it that way. So if you were having a hard time, I would encourage you to do that. So this one also has a fraction. And I am also going to clear this one as well, because I want to, this x is kind of trapped right here. So if I multiply this whole side by 14, I can't do anything with this x until I get rid of the 14. So if I do that, then I'll end up with x plus 7 over here. But if I multiply that by 7, I need to multiply this side by 14 as well. So then I'm going to do, I need to distribute it. So 1 times 14 is 14. And then I need to do this, which is, it's going to be negative because I have a negative sign. And it's a negative times a positive. So 14 times 3 is 42. Divided by 2 is going to give me 21x. So isn't this a lot easier than working with the other thing? So I'm going to add 21x because I like dealing with positive numbers. If I do that, 21x plus 1 more is 22x plus 7 equals 14. I'm going to subtract 7, 22x equals 7. Last step is to divide by 22. Divide by 22. So x equals 7/22. This one right here. All right, exponents. The important property on this one, well, let me write it out first. The important property here is that x to the negative 1 is the same as 1 over x. So if I have x to the minus 3, that's actually the same as 1 over x cubed. So what I can do is I can just, anything that has a negative exponent, I can just move it down. So I'm going to have 25, and this one I'm going to move down, so leave those here. So when I move it down, it'll be positive. I have an x to the 5th. This one here, if I move that down, it'll become positive as well. And same with that one. Now all I need to do is add them together. So I have this. 3 and 5 more is 8. 2 and 4 more is 6. The last step is I know both of these numbers are divisible by 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. So my answer would be a 5 on the top, and then 7, x to the 8, y to the 6 on the bottom. So you really have to understand this before you can do these problems. Cone has a volume of 221 centimeters squared. The radius is 4 centimeters. What is the height? So I'm going to try and find the height. So I need to first know what my volume of a cone formula is. So you can pull up your formula chart, but that is volume of a cone is, let's just pull it up. So we got this volume equals 1/3 pi r squared times my height. So height, I don't know why I wrote a 3 there. It should be a question mark. So height is what I am trying to find. So let's just plug in what I know. 1/3 pi, when I plug that into my calculator, I'll just use 3.14. And radius is 4, squared is 16 times by h, and I know that my volume is 221. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3.14 times 16 divided by 3, and that gives me about 16.75 h. So if I divide both sides by 16.75, I'm going to have 221 divided by 16.75. My radius should be about, or sorry, my height should be about 13.19 or 13.2 if I round. So hopefully that helps that one a little bit. 34 is 56% of what? So for these ones, I like to just write it out. So 34 means equals 56% of what? Meaning x. But now I'm going to change my percent to a decimal because I can't really plug in a percent to my calculator. So if I do that, I'll have 34 equals 0.56. Now I'm just going to divide to get the x by itself. When I do that, I'm going to have x should equal about 60.71. All right, next one. So it wants to know the original price when my discount is 40% and my final price is 43. So if I have an object, when I find the different, so let's say that my price was X, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that by 40%, which is 0.4. And that'll give me my discounted amount. So say I had something that was $10. I would take 40%, which would be $4, and I would subtract it from the original amount. So I would do the original amount minus my discount,